the journey into safety. Today, I'm going to be exploring the transformational power of feeling safe. Now, anyone on a healing journey or feel like they're processing through something will have gone through this process that I'm talking about now. This is essentially what the healing journey is about. It's about our inner realignment from threat to safety, from fear to love. And we're all on our own progressive evolutionary unfolding of this process. Due to our past, our environment, our relationships, our development is very much shaped and influenced by that in the first stages of our life and journey and development. And it's from those early moments which shape and mold our threat response, our fear response, our amygdala, which is like our threat fear center. And scans will show us people that have gone through and processed through any form of trauma have an enlarged amygdala, which means we will have a high rate of activation, an overactivation of our threat response, which means our perception is completely different. Our perception is heightened. We can feel like there's a lion in the room when there is not any threat whatsoever. Our physiology is tuned into a high state of arousal, and we could be in somewhere which would be normally perceived as safe, but we have this threat response going off autonomously within us. And of course, this massively shapes our world. This creates a cage. This shapes our decisions. This shapes our emotions. This shapes our decisions. This shapes our actions. This shapes our behavior. It shapes our world to such a degree that it creates this self-made cage that thinks it's for our benefit, but in fact, it creates this lasered down, tunnel-like limitation to our journey. So when we start healing and our souls like, Alex, come on. This is not what your soul, this is not what our spirit and soul is about. I spoke about this the other day in my other video. We start to get that nudge because this is not what we're here for. Our soul and expansion isn't here for this intense degree of threat and caged offness to life. We are so shut off from love. The fear response is so intense and so grandiose that's going on within us. We are completely shut off from love, the expansion of the universe, from abundance, from prosperity, from our life force. So, what does that mean? We go to work. We start to regulate and heal our nervous system. We start to train and change and shift our state. Our amygdala and fear center, which would have been shown on a scan if we'd have had that, would be come across as very large. This is what happens when we go through certain amounts of trauma, that our physiology within, specifically the amygdala, actually becomes bigger. And with this extra growth of the amygdala means we have that heightened sense of arousal and threat. So once we start to heal our nervous system, this is where breathwork's really cool, because there's been links with, and it's shown that over time, if we progressively keep using breathwork as a tool as communication with our nervous system, we can actually make our amygdala smaller. And just this one nuance alone is our journey of harmonizing our physiology. This is the physiological representation of going from fear to love. Because once that arousal and threat center comes down, we naturally start to open up the window to a new physiological response. When we have a large amygdala and we have a large high state of arousal, we are pumping out stress hormones, we are pumping out cortisol, adrenaline. which means we are in a state of depletion. We are in a state of cut-offness. We are in a deep state of survival. This is the survival physiological process, which is then developed into our survival paradigm individually and collectively. So once we start realigning this process within us, this is when we start changing our chemistry. So we start to come down off the stress hormones. Then we start to ignite neurotransmitters like endorphins, dopamine, anandamide, the bliss molecule, norepinephrine. We start to increase a heightened state of beautiful, positive awareness. And it's this journey, my friends, that we actually start to feel and experience emotions like joy, happiness, love, and peace. You can feel the polarity happening that I'm describing here, and how these two states of perception will be totally different. Once we start to come away from the stress response and we lower that level, our level of threat, we start to realign and conclude and fulfill those highly emotionally charged moments which have stayed within our unconscious memory. It's all intertwined with this as well. We start to shift into a totally new dimension of being. Once we come into that and our stress center has come down, we obviously start to change our habits, behaviors, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, all start to become aligned with this new chemistry and physiology and energy which is happening within us. Life force goes up. Abundance starts to be experienced as an experiential reality. It's not just a word that we use. It starts to be within our physiology. Abundance, prosperity starts within us, and we start to experience that feeling of enoughness. We start to feel full. We start to feel love more and more and more and more so. We start to really experientially understand love, not theoretically or cognitively, but experientially, feelingly, we experience it on such a deep level. And that becomes deeper and deeper and deeper. We still experience that fear, as that's still within us. We still need that. This is not saying that the fear response is bad. It's just lowering it down so it's not used all the time. It's lower. It's just a change of percentage. When we're deep in survival mode, we'll experience moments of love, but they'll be few and far between. But then when we start to make that shift, we experience peace, love, and joy more. And we have that fear response, which is still there, which we still use. But instead, where before it paralyzed us, it now becomes exciting. We develop the capacity to transmute and alchemize the fear response. It doesn't get a hold of us. It doesn't create that paralysis. It doesn't numb us out, because it doesn't stay long enough. We transmute it and it turns into excitement, which then turns into courage, which then turns into peace, which then turns into neutrality, which then turns into all these other factors which are life affirming and life supporting of our process. And with this, there is a total transformation. There is this profound sense of safety which comes with it. This safety is very much congruent with faith, feeling safe and faith, trusting life, trusting God. It all comes from this power of feeling safe. Once we feel this depth of safety, we start to be open up to this deep degree of trust for our lives. This also really helps if you're trying to affirm or manifest or start consciously creating, because you start to really sink into the process. you'll say an affirmation and you'll trust that whatever you're saying and feeling is going to be there. You trust that void-like space of creation that we go through when we start to be conscious creators. And it all comes from this inner realignment and feeling of safety. And it's almost beyond feeling. It's like a it's deep within your bones. Your vibration is now safety. Your vibration is tuned into this frequency of safety, which has these byproducts of this peace and this tuning into that love vibration, tuning into the peace vibration. And you start to iron out this inside vortex of self. And it's a process. I always talk about it's a process. It's a gradient line. And if I reflect on my journey, I've gone from such intense degrees of inner threat that I actually cannot put into words. Like many years ago, back in my early 20s, very, very, very high state of dysregulation, an intense feeling of inner threat, which was provoked and manifested in any given moment, even when I was in the embrace of someone, which created a very large amounts of dissidence and discord within my whole reality. So I've definitely lived and breathed this experience of the gradient line of going from intense fear to this feeling of safety and love and faith, and really extremity of experiencing that contrast. So wherever you are in your process, in your journey of going into safety, keep coming back to any element of groundedness and any element of a soft breath, any element of self-inquiry, which can keep you anchored in this progressive journey, which is continuously unfolding. And sometimes it might go completely the other way, and that threat goes up. We have an unconscious memory which all of a sudden just gets us and hits us on the blind side, but we keep coming back. You will always keep coming back. Your spirit is guiding you. God is here holding you within his benevolence through this process while we're making these conscious and unconscious decisions along the way, but we are naturally ascending our way further and further to that feeling of safety and going into the arms of love. So sending you so much love to you, my friend, on your journey with wherever you are at the minute. I'm so proud of you with where you are and what you are doing. My name's Alex, a nervous system coach, a breathwork coach. Sending you so much love, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video.